for the policymakers, for the listeners on this show today, what do you think that they're missing that you wish they would focus on in the conversation around AI to make sure that they are savvy and on top of what needs to be addressed and considered?
Um, I think the thing that we are missing, I think maybe the biggest misunderstanding is something I've touched on a couple times, but I don't think that people quite realize that no one knows how this stuff works. Right?
Mhm.
I don't think that the you folks in Congress and the Senate realize that Sam Altman doesn't know what's going on in OpenAI. And they think they don't know what's going on in OpenAI, but they trust that Silicon Valley does. And the truth is that Silicon Valley doesn't. And even Silicon Valley admits that, right? I interviewed Sam Altman at the UN AI for Good Summit last summer, summer of 2024. And I said, what is the biggest problem in AI? He's like, explainability. Like, we don't know what's going on. And it's not to cast aspersion on them. It's just like this is an incredible thing where it turns out that if you just put a bunch of data in a cauldron and you stir it around with a big, stick, suddenly you get intelligence. And how exactly that intelligence is formed and why it's formed in certain ways with transformer-based architecture and why it's slightly different when you use the like OpenAI's cauldron from other cauldrons is an amazing question. And I think if people understood that, there would probably be different rules, regulations, and attitudes. Um, so maybe that's the biggest misunderstanding. The other thing that I think is so interesting right now is this question of whether, scaling law-based AI, just pour more data into the cauldron, get better data, get more GPUs, spend more time on it, get more electricity. Whether that leads you to better and better, more powerful AI, that can solve more complex problems with fewer hallucinations and can lead to multi-step agentic processing. Or whether as there's a little bit of a voices being heard now, you need some kind of like symbolic form or formal knowledge systems built into it, right? So you're going to need both the cauldron and a bunch of rules. And I think that's an amazing debate. It's a debate with a great history, and that's an important one to follow too.
Hmm. You've given us quite a visual to think of AI as with the cauldron, because it's something that is fueling our daily lives. Witchcraft is not usually something people are very comfortable with or
Right.
want to be the basis for our functions, our work, our homework, our learning capacity. And yet, if it is a cauldron, as you say, we don't understand it and no one does. So that makes the work of governing it almost seem impossible. Although I guess you can talk about if it's a cauldron, for instance, what's the temperature? What's the
Right.
appropriate temperature? What's the care for it? What are the testing to make sure that it's not boiling over, that
Yep.
don't put any human items in it, privacy and humanity and those types of concerns, even though we may not understand what specifically is happening within that cauldron.